Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. Today I have a fun little technique for you guys that shows you how to create a frame with any stamp you have and just some masking tape. I chose to do an emboss resist technique again, but that's absolutely not necessary for this. Now I started out by just cutting down a rectangle of paper. I put some double-sided repositionable adhesive behind that, and I put that in the center of my panel. Now I have to admit I couldn't center this without measuring out the center first, and that's what you see me erasing here. I put some pencil marks where I should put this rectangle. You can also do this with masking paper or masking tape. That's probably a little simpler, but I didn't have any masking paper. Now I'm just using some Versamark ink and this really fun floral stamp set by My Favorite Things. It's a mini stamp set, so it comes at a great price point, and it's the Fantasy Florals. And the way I am creating this frame is just by stamping these off the edge of that masking paper or the mask that I'm using, and I'm just making sure that I stamp all the way around. Now again, I am doing an emboss resist technique, so I will be embossing this with white embossing powder, but you don't have to. You can do this in black ink and color in the flowers later, or you don't even have to use flowers, to be honest. You can use whatever you have in your stash and whatever fits your occasion for the card. Now, if you are doing ink blending, it's important to keep that mask in place. So I kept it in place while I sprinkled on my Wow Bright White Superfine Embossing Powder and while I heat set it as well. And then I can just do some simple ink blending around that masking paper. I'm using 3 inks today. I'm using a yellow and a pink from Pinkfresh Studio. I also had an orange picked out by Pinkfresh Studio and then remembered that that's the only inks I don't really like in the Pinkfresh line. They're not bright enough for my taste. So I chose the orange, the Marmalade color in the Concord and 9th ink line. I'm just using some blending brushes to apply these inks, and I'm not being too precise with it. I'm overlapping the colors a little bit so they blend together nicely, and I'm just blending far enough out to see all the outlines in white of all the stamping I did. And once I'm happy with my ink blending, I can just peel off that mask gently, and that's the frame all done. This would be great for 1-layer cards as well, but you know I love my dimension, so I am going to put a dimensional die cut on top of this, and that's going to be my sentiment. This is a very dainty happy birthday die by My Favorite Things, and I'm just covering this with liquid adhesive. This is the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. I can then just dab off some of the excess glue with a scrap piece of paper and then layer on my second layer. So I die cut this twice out of white cardstock and once out of black cardstock, and dabbing away that excess glue just makes sure that no glue will ooze out of the sides, but it will leave the die cut sticky enough to adhere another one on top. It's a great technique for adhering or layering dainty die cuts like this. Now I'm doing the same thing again to adhere that 3rd layer on top. This will be the black layer, dabbing off that excess glue once I've applied it, and then just wiggling that 3rd die cut layer in place. Now I'm assembling the card and I'm using some cardboard to prop up that panel. I like cardboard because it's slightly lighter than layering a bunch of cardstock pieces together, and it's just as sturdy. I'm propping that up onto an A2 size note card, and then I can glue on that die cut again. I am doing the same thing once again, just adding the adhesive to the back of the die. I'm not being fussy with how I apply this. I don't mind if there's a bit too much glue in places because again, I am dabbing off the excess and then I can glue it in place on my card. And now here's the tip to adhere that little dot above the eye, the tittle. I saved all of the ones I die cut and I just put a dot of adhesive on top of the eye where I want the tittle to go, and then I can pick the tittle up with my jewel picker, put that in place, put a dot of adhesive on top of it to layer the second one on with my jewel picker again, and I do the same for the third layer. And this is a great way to adhere your super tiny pieces, your super tiny die cuts together. Even if I have small die cut hearts that I want to add a little bit of dimension to, I often do the same thing. I adhere them straight onto the card layer by layer using my jewel picker. Now, of course, this card was still missing some sparkle. So what I'm adding is 2 different gems. I'm using the Meraki Sparkle Pink Butterflies. Those are the ones you just saw me put in place. And then I am just using some gems. These are nail art gems that I got off Amazon. I like them because they are so tiny. I haven't seen any card making companies come out with gems this tiny. Just fiddling around with the placement for a little bit, and I use my jewel picker for those again, and then I can use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to adhere these down. I prefer this for my embellishments because it's far stronger than the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue, and it's also not as liquid, so your embellishments won't slide around on it. Now, because this card was so simple, I wanted to add even more sparkle and shine to it, so I am embellishing the sentiment. And I'm doing that 2 ways. I'm first putting on some glitter with the Wink of Stella glitter brush pen, and then I'm adding gloss with Glossy Accents. And yes, this die is very dainty, but the Glossy Accents is designed to just dome up. So it doesn't want to flow off this die cut. It's very hard to spill this glue over your die if the die is a little bit dimensional. I did go very slow with it, but it's hard to mess up, I promise. Now for the envelope, I went for a bright yellow. I really like yellow. It's such a happy color, and I figured it's in my card, why not use it for the envelope? I'm just folding that with my We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board and reinforcing the score lines with a bone folder, and then I can adhere the envelope together with my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. Now I wanted to add the same flowers I used on my card on the envelope, and I figured it would also be fun if these were also stamped off the edge. So I chose to stamp them off the edge of the top flap on the back of the envelope in orange ink. I am using the Pinkfresh Studio ink for this because I had already put my Concord and 9 inks away. And there you can see that glossy sentiment in all its glory. I really like adding glossy accents to black sentiments. It really makes them pop. I hope you like this little frame technique. It's super simple, and I always think a frame adds so much to a card. You just need to add a sentiment on top of it, and your card is all done. I also really like these summery colors. I know it's winter almost, and everyone is making Christmas cards, but sometimes you just need some bright colors in your life. I hope you liked the card, and I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. Of course, you can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.